The year is 1945. World War II is finally over, and the world's most respected economists are making a terrifying prediction: mass unemployment, deflation, and a depression worse than the 1930s. The U.S. government was so certain of this collapse that they planned for it. They expected 8 million Americans to be out of work by 1946. The conventional wisdom was that when war spending stopped, the economy would crash. Here's what actually happened. By 1946, unemployment was around 3 million. Inflation surged to 20%. Instead of a depression, the economy boomed. The forecasts were wrong by millions of jobs and billions in GDP. Everything the experts predicted about 1946 was wrong. But here's the thing. The patterns of 1946 are repeating right now in 2026. And understanding what happened then might just tell you exactly what's coming in the 2030s. This is Crash Historian, where history uncovers the hidden forces shaping money, power, and the modern world. What if the consensus forecast for the 2030s is just as wrong as the forecast for 1946? Let's start by understanding what actually happened in 1946, because the story is more important than you think. The great economic minds of the era predicted disaster because that's what the models told them. The war had ended. Government spending was about to plummet. Millions of soldiers were returning home. Factories were shutting down. The math was simple: less spending, less demand, more unemployment. One economist, named Lawrence Klein, who would later win a Nobel Prize, wrote a detailed analysis predicting the collapse. Everyone agreed. The consensus was unanimous. But they all missed something fundamental. During the war, Americans couldn't buy cars, homes, or appliances. Those factories were building tanks and planes. Food was rationed. Construction was halted. There was nothing to spend money on. So people saved massively. By 1945, households had accumulated a mountain of cash, what economists call pent-up demand. When the war ended, those savings were unleashed. People wanted everything. The economy didn't crash, it exploded. Inflation hit 20% in 1946 and 1947, then quickly subsided. The boom that everyone feared would destroy the economy actually created one of the most prosperous periods in American history. But something else was happening in 1946 on the other side of the world. In Hungary, the worst hyperinflation in human history was reaching its peak. By July 1946, prices were doubling every 15 hours. The Hungarian government was printing money with so many zeros that they issued a 100 quintillion pengo note. That's a 1 with 20 zeros. The economy had been devastated by war. 40% of the country's capital stock was destroyed. The Soviets demanded massive reparations. The government had no choice but to print money to survive. The result was total economic collapse. Savings were wiped out. The middle class was destroyed. Trust in currency evaporated. Two countries, both in 1946. Two completely different outcomes. Why does this matter today? Because right now, the world is facing a similar crossroads. In 1945, everyone knew war spending would end, but they underestimated private demand. In 2026, everyone knows something is wrong with the global economy. The signs are everywhere. The United States is facing a debt crisis. Public debt has soared from 60% of GDP before 2008 to roughly 120% today. The Congressional Budget Office projects it could reach 156% by 2055. Government spending is out of control. Tariffs are rising, echoing protectionist policies of the past. And then there's Argentina. In the early 1900s, Argentina was one of the world's richest nations. People used the expression as rich as an Argentine. It was expected to rival the United States. But then Juan Perón took power in 1946. He implemented policies that would destroy his country for generations. Import substitution, trade protectionism, state control, massive deficits, money printing. Argentina's economy stagnated for 75 years. It has defaulted on its debt 9 times. A country that was once a global power became a cautionary tale. The comparison is uncomfortable because many argue that the United States is now following Argentina's path. Protectionism, deficits, and political control over the central bank. These are the ingredients of the Peronist recipe, and they have never ended well. But there is also a lesson in the opposite direction. In December 2023, Argentina elected Javier Milei, a libertarian economist who brought out the chainsaw to cut spending, reduce trade barriers, and stabilize the economy. For the first time in decades, there is hope for Argentina. One nation is learning from history. The other is repeating it. So where does that leave you in the 2030s? Every economic crisis in history was preceded by experts who said, this time is different. In 1929, they said stocks could only go up. In 2008, they said housing prices would never fall. In 1946, they said the post-war economy would collapse. They were wrong every time. But here's the pattern. In every major economic crisis, first, there's a consensus forecast. Everyone agrees on what's coming. Then, something unexpected happens. The consensus falls apart. Some people lose everything. Others become incredibly wealthy. The difference between those groups isn't luck, it's understanding. Understanding that the consensus is often wrong. Understanding that the crowd doesn't see the hidden forces. Understanding the difference between wealth and value. Those who held assets with real, enduring value, land, production, skills, survived. Those who held only paper, cash, bonds, speculative stocks, were destroyed. So what does 1946 predict about your 2030s? It predicts that the consensus will be wrong. It predicts that markets will be volatile. It predicts that inflation will surprise everyone. But most importantly, it predicts that opportunity will exist for those who see clearly while others are blinded by fear. The question is, which side will you be on? If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. Because history doesn't repeat, but if you don't understand it, it will crush you all the same. Like this video if you want more deep dives into the hidden forces shaping money, power, and the modern world. And comment below, what do you think 1946 teaches us about 2030? See you in the next one.